I'm James Edward Barnes, and I live back in the mountains in Virginia. I used to work for a living. All of us out here had a prior life, most of us did. And I even worked in Los Angeles, and I lived and worked in Manhattan, and I couldn't stand that anymore. After about 20 years of that, I went as far in the mountains as I could go, and I got away from everything. I built my own house on 300 acres of land, and I threw away technology. I grow my own food. I go cut down my trees and I make these and I bring them to the city, I sell them, and then I turn around and I run back to the mountain. What I do is just a little bit different from what other people do, and so I have to explain it to them and how I get to where I get. These vases I make, I always have leftover parts, and for years I would just pitch them over in a bucket, not knowing what to do with them, but I knew one day I'd figure something out. So I just started gluing them down and making this flat work and sanding it off. And that's essentially how it came to be about. It's just with all the leftover parts I had from making all of these vases. The white vases happens to be made from a holly tree, which is very, very white. This vase right here behind me and all is made out of something called ambonia, which comes from Southeast Asia, from Laos. It has this wonderful deep red color to it. Then I have some wood over here that's entirely black. It's made out of ebony. And then in between, there's Vera wood from Venezuela that's kind of green, and there's little pink wood from Africa that's called pink ivory. And then there's a canary wood that's called yellow. I go out in the woods close to my house. I get a big tree, and I saw a chunk off of it. I put it on a lathe that starts to spin it, and while it's spinning, I cut it with some real sharp knives, and I shape out a big vessel. After I hollow it out, I come back and start inlaying it for many hours until I cover it all back up. I do outsource a little bit because some of these colors in these vessels are of intense colors that just are not in American trees. So I develop a technique where I can buy a little block of wood and cut it up and inlay it and stretch it out. And I can get all these intense colors from trees all around the world. So I'm able to save a few little trees that naturally they would just pile up and burn as they do this slash and burn in the jungles.